Hey, what's up, people? Piz out here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the newly released thriller Don't Breathe, directed by Fede Alvarez. And Don't Breathe stars Jane Levy as part of a trio of small-time burglars who are nickel and diming their way through life. They receive some intel that a potentially huge score could be found in the home of a blind veteran. They decide to break into this man's home only to discover that he is not quite as helpless as they thought he was. A game of, I almost said cat and mouse, but really in this case it's more like a game of Marco Polo ensues. And Don't Breathe is one of the most tension-filled, suspenseful movies that I've seen in quite some time. Example, I was chewing on a toothpick while watching Don't Breathe. And it wasn't very long into the film before there was a sequence that was so tense that I didn't even realize that I was chewing on this toothpick, to the point where one half of the toothpick had pretty much disintegrated into my mouth into just slivers of wood and the soggy remnants of toothpick. Well, needless to say, the taste of the disintegrated toothpick reminded me that it had disintegrated. So I went ahead, I spit it all out. A couple of minutes later, there was another very tension-filled sequence, and I was actually holding on to the other half of the toothpick, the sharp end. But I didn't realize I was digging it into my finger, to the point where my finger was bleeding. So needless to say, I was pretty wrapped up. I was pretty invested in Don't Breathe. Now, for the first half of Don't Breathe, it is pretty much a flawless thriller. Fede Alvarez, whose previous film was the Evil Dead remake, which I thought was overall not bad, but from a visual point of view was excellent. He brings that same visual style here. The movie looks fantastic. The pacing is spot on, literally from the word go. The movie just does not give up, does not even give you very much breathing room at all. The editing is great. The music is great. The characters are phenomenal. Aside from one character, all the characters in this film are really dynamic. They're not just your typical one-dimensional, here's your good guy, here's your bad guy. And the movie really puts you, as the viewer, in this state of mind of being really conflicted, as far as at one point you're kind of rooting for one character, but then you realize, well, their intentions aren't the greatest. Then maybe you're kind of rooting for another character, but then, well, their intentions aren't really on the level either. And not very many movies take that extra route and really show you the dynamics of what are essentially really flawed people. They became less characters to me and just more flawed people. Then there's a twist. And they kind of give the twist away a little bit in the trailer, which is unfortunate. But the twist really just casts more of a shadow over, that conflicted feeling, to the point where you begin to start feeling sorry for certain characters in the movie. And that just adds a whole other dimension to this movie. And up to that point, I was totally invested in Don't Breathe. You've got some great tension-filled moments in this movie. The characters are really well done, at least 3 of the 4 in the film. I really like the performances of Jane Levy and Stephen Lang, and the conflicted mindset that you're in as the viewer over who you should root for, or should you be rooting really for anybody, was spectacular. And it really gave the movie this sort of ominous kind of dread. Like you just knew that this movie was building and building and building toward an ending that was going to be just as kind of challenging for the viewer as everything else in this film. And I was really looking forward to that. Then they throw a twist on top of the twist and try and take it a step further into this kind of, let's shock the audience. Let's remind the audience that this isn't just a thriller, this is a horror film. And up to this point, the movie had totally relied on tension and suspense. No boo scares, no BS, good characters, good suspense, great atmosphere. That's what this movie, that's the root of this movie. But then they took it this step further into, let's shock the audience. And it totally took me out of the movie. It totally pulled me right out of the movie. And it's sort of like it goes down this route of, at one point it's almost torture pornish, and then it goes into kind of like a slasher movie where one character is just kind of omnipresent in this house and he can teleport from room to room to room. You put him down, he gets right back up. You put him down again, he gets right back up. And the movie kind of feels like it ends, but then it starts again. It ends, then it kind of starts again. And there's like an ending. The ending just really seemed kind of like, well, you know, this is such a fast-paced movie. It's only an hour and 28 minutes. It kind of felt like to me that they just needed to add on an extra 8 to 10 minutes to just pad out that runtime. So here, let's have this ending. So it just... It feels like they had a great thriller for that first half of the movie. Then they said, well, let's throw some horror elements in here, and then let's pad out the runtime a little bit, and they just kind of lost me. The first half of Don't Breathe is an excellent tension-filled thriller. And that conflict that they added for the viewer as to, you know, the complexities of the characters and who you should be rooting for, who you should be rooting against, is kind of lost in that second half, in which it just kind of becomes, like I said, you know, it even sort of falls into the same trap that a lot of slasher movies do in their third act, which is pretty much there's nothing left to do except running and screaming and hiding and chasing. I still liked Don't Breathe quite a bit. I still recommend it. I still think you guys should go out and check it out if you haven't. But the second half of that film, really, once they throw the twist on top of the twist, which just totally seems so unnecessary to me, it really lost me. And it really pulled me out of a movie that I was very, very much invested in up to that point. And I'm sure you've heard the term, you know, a white knuckle thrill ride. But really, that first half of Don't Breathe was just that. And I was really digging it. And I was so disappointed in the, you know, in the direction it took in the second half. I'm not sure if they were like, well, you know, hey, let's remind everybody that you're watching a thriller, but let's throw some horror at them too. This is a horror thriller. I don't know. I really don't know. The second half of the movie, I think, doesn't do enough damage to really hurt the first half, because the first half was that good. So I do recommend it. I'd give it 3 out of 4 stars. If you've not seen Don't Breathe, go check it out. See it in the theater. If you have seen Don't Breathe, please let me know what you think of it in the comments section below. Did that twist on a twist kind of take you out of the movie? Did you not mind it? Did you think it actually elevated the movie? Please tell me in the comments section. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here somewhere. Thanks as always for watching. I appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace.